I want to welcome our first speaker, Orri Vigfússon.
Can I have water? Can you give me water? Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I have a very ambitious topic to speak about, but I do actually believe that those of us who live in close contact with the North Atlantic have a special and meaningful role with respect to biodiversity and sustainability. As we have heard during this conference, global warming is a complex challenge. Unless we manage wisely, many of our region's communities will be marginalized, unable to adapt, or left behind in the dash to the new global economy. I will argue that there will be great need of innovation and rapid expansion of market-based solutions that enable national economies in the North Atlantic and around the world to grow and create the next generations of well-paid jobs. People around the North Atlantic are still as dependent on fish stocks as in the past. If we are to produce an enduring and successful new regime, stakeholders' human rights will need to be observed. This requires all of them: fishermen, harvesters, processors, marketers, and environmentalists to be allowed access to the negotiating table. Rural communities will only survive if they live in harmony with nature, use and conserve natural resources sensibly, and unite to protect and promote their distinctive way of life. I want to suggest how we might begin to put our ideas together. Commercial fishing practices in Iceland, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands have already moved strongly in the direction of sustainability. All three countries have gone through some tough times in developing their fisheries management policies. I believe strongly in the ability of practical solutions to provide sustainable development. Placed as we are between America and Europe, the islands of Greenland, Iceland, and the Faroes straddle the middle of the vast mid-Atlantic ecosystem. We are endowed with rich natural resources in the form of fish stocks. Together with the waters of Canada, USA, Norway, Russia, and countries of the European Union, our seas have been part of the vast natural hunting grounds. For the last 5 centuries, the Atlantic has endured a growing onslaught of ever-increasing exploitation by ever more efficient technologies. It has to stop. Our joint aim must be to convert this huge bioeconomic battleground into a sustainable managed ecosystem. Certainly, the new trade routes will provide vast new opportunities. So do the oil and mineral reserves and the likely changes in fishing opportunities for cod, herring, capelin, and most other fish in the North Atlantic. Inevitably, the risks will also multiply, and the race to obtain a share in new sources of materials and wealth will certainly aggravate international conflicts. To date, Iceland, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands have decided to stay outside the European Union. But many of our stocks interlink with stocks of other nations. How do we manage these multinational resources to achieve sustainability? By which I mean biological and social sustainability at the highest possible level of welfare. I believe that free and voluntary commercial agreements between vested shareholders are the key to successful long-term sustainability. Some of these agreements are custodians of natural resources, and some represent the interests of the various users. We need committed and active partners in the stewardship of fish stocks and other natural resources. The management decision must reflect the needs and aspirations of a fully inclusive consultation that is representative of all levels of government, national or international companies, non-profit and voluntary organizations, and the associations of those who own land, vessel, equipment. Finally, I believe the system must be based on a bedrock of strong property rights. I have little faith in intergovernmental resolutions and their inevitable growth into treaty organizations that almost always fail to deliver. Property-based systems are simply much more responsive to changing conditions, including climatic conditions. Property rights effectively marshal the competing interests produced by the movements of straddling and migratory fish stocks. I emphasize my belief that nothing beats common sense and practical economic solutions. For example, I think it should be a natural goal for the creation of a new environmentally efficient fleet of fishing vessels. And I was glad to hear the very enlightening presentations this morning. I think there must be openings for young, new talents, entrepreneurial mindsets, and creative talents must be given a chance. There should be a strategy to encourage and use new and innovative thinking and novel forms of problem solving. In essence, we actually need to build a new entrepreneurial culture if we are to create effective fisheries management and solve the social challenges that will arise. The public needs to be educated in what must be done, and creative talents in visual presentations are often underestimated in the North Atlantic. I mention this here as probably no place on earth has more quality painters and artists per capita or land area than the Faroe Islands. We need their talents to develop projects that depict the region's complete marine environment that extends all the way from zooplankton to mankind. Commercial agreements based on strong property rights must also have a bedrock of good science. The scientific goal is simple. It must aim at the restoration of and maintenance of abundant populations of fish stocks. My own special field is the wild Atlantic salmon, one of the most studied of all fish species. My conclusions are that future management programs will have to protect the native salmon stock, limit the interceptory netting on migratory routes, and maximize sustainable returns for both the home and host nations. This is important in the Faroe Islands, and of course their people. My organization's aim for the salmon is a restoration of abundance. Why should that not be our goal for all fish stocks?